Good morning. Welcome to the House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. Today is the first day of spring, March 20th. It's 9:00 a.m. And as we do on every Friday, we started off with some reports from our legislative interns. And so I don't know which one of you would like to propose. Okay, great. Thank you, Darren.
Morning, everybody. My name is Bailey Davis. I'm the committee intern from Norwich. So my task this week was to track all the bills that came from this committee that got passed over to the Senate, with the exception of stuff in the Senate's Economic Development Committee, General Affairs, which obviously Cabinet is tracking. So there's not too much outside of that. There's 4 bills, 2 of which are older. But are still technically in committee. And the 2 committees that have those bills are the Senate Finance Committee and the Senate Committee on Judiciary. So first and foremost, House Bill 34 is an older one. It's been the Senate Finance Committee since 5/13/2025. So like I said, it's kind of an older one that's just been sitting there. The 2 that are of interest though for us that are a little bit newer is House Bill 648. An act relating to banking, insurance, and securities. That one was read first time in the Senate and referred to the Committee on Finance. That's been there since February 4th, 2026. And then House Bill 649, an act relating to captive insurance companies. That one was passed by both the House and the Senate, and it was delivered to the governor as of 2 days ago, 3/18/2026. And then for the Senate Committee on Judiciary, this is an older one as well. That's House Bill 342, an act relating to protecting the personal information of certain public servants. That one was read a first time and then referred to that committee. That one's been sitting there since April of last year, April 2nd of last year, but it's still technically in committee. So with all that said, are there any questions?
And yeah, so the captive insurance one is being signed presumably. And the other ones, I don't know the status. I suspect the chair knows that those are probably being woven into Senate bills, would be my guess. But great, thank you. What you're going to find is that we just passed a bunch of them this week. So you'll have more stuff
Okay.
for next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly obviously if there's any questions related to any of these, I can, look specific to all of the maybe details. But of course, I just wanted to get a general overview first. What's currently going. So
No, that's great. And you, so you looked up their status. Did you know that you can also look at then when they've done their most recent testimony, just like, so after it's been deferred, then look at what dates they've done testimony on this to see if did you do any of that?
I was trying to look through some of the agendas. I know for some of the older ones that'd be a little bit harder because I'll be going through the agendas, but for some of the newer ones, I looked through some of the agendas. Obviously, the one that was passed by the House and Senate, that one had a little bit of testing like this. I mean, it's through the process. In regards to House Bill 648, I can certainly look into the status on some of that testimony.
Great. Anyone have any questions for Bailey?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. Abbott Sales, intern from UVM. I'm going to be talking about the Senate Development, Housing, General Affairs again. Some bills that went there and that came here. I'm going to start with S-173, which is now here. I'm not going to go over the summary because I'm sure you all know, but some discussion from the committee most recently was about whether the governor should be able to appoint members of the working group. There was no decision on that. And an earlier discussion from the committee gave a specific question to the House, and that was, will removing the screen, and this is the bill related to vocational rehabilitation. And they'll be removing the screening process is what's proposed in this bill. So the specific concern is, will removing the screening process actually save money in the system, or will it lead to more people using more expensive VR services than they actually need? And there was some debate about that, and that's the standing question there. Also, they discussed H 639, data privacy. Some specific questions that came up in discussion committee were around de-identification. So one state is de-identified, it falls out of the bill's protection. Senator Clarkson raised the question whether that creates a gap for research. The committee sentiment was positive, but they do want experts to weigh in on that. They also talked about interstate differences. Senator Brock questioned the burden of companies navigating 50 different state privacy laws. And Chittenden raised the concern, what happens when a Vermonter moves to a state without these protections? They also were talking about law enforcement access. Senator Weeks noted that genetic and biometric data is important for law enforcement and intelligence. And the committee wants Vermont State Police to come in, confirm that the warrant requirement language doesn't create unintended problems. And there were also questions about healthcare. Senator Chittenden raised the concern of whether patients should have the same rights with their doctors that consumers have with testing companies around genetic data.
Could you repeat that last one?
Oh, that last one, whether patients should have the same privacy rights with their genetic data regarding their doctors as consumers with testing companies.
And who is that? Senator Weeks, you had?
That was Chittenden.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then moving on to H 512, the event ticketing. Discussion here was around individual resellers. There were questions whether or around the bill technically applying to anyone, including personal sellers. Chittenden, that this is something that they should look at more. And it was noted that the AG would likely chase individuals, but theoretically there could be private cases. They also discussed platform regulation versus just seller regulation. Senator Chittenden again identified that if you resell at 110%, you might not make your money back with any fees from the platform. And the bill doesn't regulate what platforms charge, only what resellers can charge buyers. And then reseller status. So Senator Chittenden questioned when Ticketmaster acts as a primary seller versus a reseller, since it can function as both depending on the context, and they just discussed that that distinction matters for the cap. And then there were questions about the actual cap number at 110%, and they want to dig a little bit deeper into why that was chosen. And Ledge Council is going to create a comparison of what other jurisdictions have enacted. Both H 512 and H 639 are going to need more follow-up, and they're going to have more discussion on that going forward. In the report, if you'd like to look, oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the questioning about seller versus reseller, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned Ticketmaster. So, and we had that provision in the bill that talked about those kind of issues. So were they concerned about that particular provision, or?
They were.
In other words, sellers, resellers who are acting under contract with the event, right?
Right.
So what was the discussion about that? And who was concerned about that?
Yeah, that was Senator Chittenden.
Okay,
And I think they really want more, like there was lots of testimony in this committee
Sure.
from actually like the StubHub and such, and I think they want more clarity on how that actually works.
okay.
And there's just questions about in what capacity does Ticketmaster actually act as a primary seller when they have a contract?
Right.
Any other questions on that? I also included in this report some information on H 548 and H 775. that is labor relations and rural financing. If you'd like to look at that, but I don't really want to tell them. So,
You can fill us in on what you found. I
Sure.
don't know if they're fall under our jurisdiction, but
yeah,
certainly.
yeah, I'm happy to do that. So labor relations age 548, that was introduced by Connor Casey, and that would create a state labor mediator position, housed under the Vermont Labor Relations Board. And that is based on the current administration's cutting of the federal mediation and conciliation service from 147 mediators to 6. And additionally, Vermont's longtime FMCS contact was let go in April. So discussion around that was cost. Private mediators are very expensive, and an in-house full-time mediator would likely be cheaper. There were questions on how much work a mediator would actually have being a full-time mediator in Vermont. And they discussed it having a contractor versus having a full-time employee mediator. They also discussed confidentiality, and a new subdivision was added to the VLRB to develop policies insulating mediation communications from board members and other staff. The appropriation for that would be $250,000 for 2 positions, a mediator and a staff attorney for the VLRB, which currently operates with essentially 1.5 staff and administrating 7 labor statutes. And then H 775 is rural financing. And that is a 6-part housing finance bill designed to address financing gaps in rural Vermont where existing tools fall short. So the components of that are special assessment revenue bonds, which allow municipalities to issue revenue bonds with only property owners on the hook needing to vote. This addresses instances where opponents of a development used to bond votes to kill projects even after the select board approved them. The modular and manufactured home accelerator. This would use the state treasurer's 10% for Vermont program and expand that to 12.5% with an additional 1% credit facility for bulk purchasing of offsite housing. VHIP pre-funding. Currently VHIP requires landlords to advance their own money and get reimbursed. This gives the Department of Housing and Community Development explicit statutory authority to front the money for capital constrained projects. VITA expansion. This would allow VITA to finance multifamily residentials. It's again the raising the Vermont program from 10% to 12.5%, and then municipal housing targets and reporting. This would ask municipalities to incorporate state housing targets into their land use plans. And if they can't meet the targets, report back to the Department of Housing and Community Development to explain why. And a lot of the language in this bill is very similar to S 328, which is the Senate Committee's housing bill. So they're going to look at a side-by-side comparison of those two. So I have for this one.
Any questions for Kevin? I mean, I know that the housing piece isn't really our committee, but on the other hand, it does touch into a number of things that we have done, including as you didn't say it, but you said that they framed it as that the CHIP program is oversold for rural Vermont.
Right.
Small projects couldn't make the tax increment financing work. So some of these are strategies to try and address that. And then, and as you said, some of we certainly do, we weighed in on the VITA expansion, and we weighed in on the impasse on VHIP and its applicability to workforce housing. So, okay.
Yeah.
Not directly our.
Keep including that or just focus, like in the beginning, on the bills that came from.
I wouldn't mind to keep including it, because I mean, like, I do a report to my constituents once a week, and housing is a huge issue for them.
Yeah.
So to have that extra information is very helpful to me. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I agree. What was the Senate bill number on housing?
That was, the Senate one is S 328. Yes.
Seconds, I can plan. The cabinet did a little update on S-173, which we've been doing recently, and then also some of their concerns around the genetic data privacy. 639. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And as I said, we voted out a bunch of bills and this week, and so there'll be some more things for you to follow next week. And then there may or may not be some additional projects. We were going to do one research thing that I think we backed it off on. So
Maybe one of you like to take a look at the penny issue,
oh,
because we are gonna have conversations about that. We have 837 we're gonna take up next week, but I think that's based off the Canadian, how the Canadians dealt with removing the penny. But it may be good if you can take a look at that and find out what the ramifications are. So that we're aware. I think there's certainly tax ramifications of collecting or not collecting sales tax and rooms and meals tax. And, ramifications for retailers. I think a whole host of things. If you're using cash, those are more of the ramifications than if you're transferring money back and forth online, because you can do the penny there, but. And then what happens when you want to cash things out and all, there's a whole host of things that I think we want to think about, so.
Yeah.
It's something we'd like to look at.
yeah. Do you want Cabot or Bailey to do that?
It's whichever one, I'll leave that to you.
All right, we'll chat, we'll discuss it. Yeah. Any other projects that things you think are,
Yeah. Talked about economic development, 337,
327.
327. Did talk about that?
What's that? We haven't talked about
No, have you, so that's coming over here at some point. Do you know where it sits right now? In the appropriations?
that. Yeah, the appropriations
Come out
amendment
today.
was a bit of a bloodletting.
No, Shaw.
They struck most of the bill.
The language, is there some language that's gonna go over here? I hope.
There's some language, yeah.
We need.
There's a couple provisions, the study, the report, and I think the downtown tax credits are still in there.
Oh.
But
Well, it's gonna go to finance then too.
right. So it may just be, by the time we get it, it may just be the report as well.
As long as we have a beer.
Yeah. But yeah, appropriations deleted everything they could. Right.
It's all, it's gonna depend on what comes over here from the Senate, where we'll have you take a look at. Should have them take a look at the right to repair on medical devices.
It's a good idea.
I'll
Cause I
talk
think
to you
that's,
two and see who wants which of those.
that's something that I think we won't take up this year, but it's something that if we can tee up for next year. If next year's committee wants to deal with that, but. Then we took a little testimony yesterday. Took a testimony weeks ago on it too, so I think it's interesting.
Okay.
Have a good week off.
Yeah.
Good.
Glad to be back.
Bailey, you didn't you had drills up, huh?
Yeah, no, I didn't get quite a break, but whatever. He made it.
Good. All right. Thank you, so.
Thank you.
Anything the committee has? the bill that is on the floor yesterday. Ag.
Paraquat or
No, it was. the
vegetables? Vegetable garden.
So you're talking about common, this was condos and common spaces, that's UCC, which is, we dealt with some of that a number of years ago.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so when I'm looking at it, I'm going, that's our domain too.
Yeah.
there's been a lot.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
We should have, yeah.
Man,
But that's, I mean, we haven't
wouldn't have
really,
known,
we had-
yeah.
but we didn't, you all haven't dealt with it, I did.
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's not intuitive that that
No.
would be UCC.
No. But yeah.
Interesting.
catchy title. Who would know? Who knew? Of
I thought that was interesting when I was looking at that.
course you have to have a right to do vegetable garden. UCC, huh?
Well, you know, when you're looking at
I know.
agreements.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I think we were dealing with,
I get it.
you know, how they sell a condo
Yeah.
from someone that hasn't paid their
Mm.
association fees and things. So we dealt with a lot of that a
Interesting.
number of years ago. And so it all came rushing back. I told Richard Nelson, though, I saw one piece in there where they talked about the association has the ability to tell them what containers they can use, you know. I told Richard, I said, well, what if they don't want you to do it? They're gonna tell you you can have a container that big. And, well, we had reasonable, I said, no, it's not reasonable in there. You have reasonable in the section down below it, but not there.
Yeah.
So I said, you might wanna look at that, because they may not be planting too much, but posies or something.
Of course, so I have to ask the question, is wheat a vegetable?
Yeah.
It's
not a vegetable.
Well, it is edible.
Let's see.
Good one.
I still live in.
So, when we're done the floor, we're done today. I think the weather, they're talking about the weather getting crappy at
Okay.
12:30, 1 o'clock here, so starting to snow. I think if it's south, it's gonna turn to rain, but
Mm.
so we can get out, and it's been a long week anyway for a long 2 weeks, I think. So next week, Tuesday, we have the Japanese General Council from coming in at 9 o'clock. We're going to have more discussion on 173, S-173, the Hope Rehab bill. We'll hear some testimony, a little bit more testimony. Then we'll dig into that the week after. But also we'll start looking at 837. And my thought with 837 is to put that into the economic development bill that comes over.
Great.
So that we can do something with that. So give us an idea, and whoever, what information you all can gather for us too will be really helpful as we take a look at that. So we'll hear from a retailer, and we'll go Cameron's the drafter, and I think it's represents Casey was the sponsors. We'll hear from them on Tuesday. Wednesday morning, we'll hear from Common Good. They'll be over here. That's their day here. We're on the floor at 10 o'clock on Wednesday for caucus of the whole for the budget. 10:30 is judicial retention. We'll be on the floor till noon at least on that one. And we're on the floor at 1. So Wednesday, be much here.
Okay.
Looking to set up CTE again on Thursday. Waiting to hear from Secretary Saunders to see if they'll be able to provide us with the answers to those questions that we asked last week. And continue our discussions on CTE. My understanding is the bill we'll get that bill today from the Senate, CTE bill, so we have something that we can look at too. So we may, I think we'll schedule a walkthrough of that too, whatever number it is. At the same time, Wednesday morning, after we hear from Secretary Saunders. So all Thursday, sorry. So all Thursday morning, we see. Friday, we haven't got that far yet. But it may still be the CTE after the floor. And April 2nd, we are definitely going to go to Randolph. that morning. We need to be back to the floor at 1. That's a Thursday.
That's so. What are we? It's manufacturing.
Oh, that's manufacturing day too? We may not be going there though. Because I think we're supposed to have a joint hearing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not gonna work then. Thank you for reminding. Yeah.
Good catch.
We need,
Representative?
good, if somebody wants to go down, Kirk, you can go, you're right there.
Is it just
On the slide in there. On the way up.
Everybody to that.
It's
Not that one else, it's
the lumber dealers.
lumber dealers.
Oh.
The
Bright Futures.
Bright futures, or bright futures.
Oh, very
To the London.
So I think we need to check with Kiera and that April 2nd. Manufacturer's Day. And who's doing that, John?
Yeah, they get
They working through you? Who is it?
the chamber.
The chamber? So can you find out from Megan and Jeremy, they're looking for a joint hearing?
Sure.
I really haven't heard much. If they're not, then maybe we will go. So we'll find out.
I'll find out today.
So let's go off live. We gotta get to the floor. So everyone have a good weekend. Get set up and